We all have moments in our career that define our thoughts, our views. Mine happened fairly early on. I was lucky. I worked in a fantastic first school. I learnt huge amounts from the staff who were there. I learnt more in those first couple of years than I ever did on my teacher training. And I had good teacher training, but I learnt more from my colleagues. But looking back, I've got to hold my hands up and admit I was arrogant. I thought, I've sussed this behaviour lark, this teaching lark, it's a doddle. I've done it. Now, no problem. I then moved schools. I went to a different school, and my first day there is indelibly imprinted on my brain. It was a special school for students with behavioural problems. And I apologise for the ratios at this point. I had 5 students, there was me, and there was 2 teacher assistants. So you'd think the odds would be fairly stacked in my favour. I stood at the front of the class and I said in my most authoritative voice, "Good morning, my name is Mr. Sweeney. I'd like to start by explaining what my expectations are." That was the high point of my day. That was as good as it got. Lee, who was sat just here, the table went that way, the chair went that way, came straight up to me. "Why the F should I listen to anything? You've got to effing say, you effing effer." Went out that door. 2 other lads out the window at the back were on the ground floor, so I'm fairly relaxed. Another lad went out the fire escape. The teacher assistants by now had scattered. Poor David, who was the more emotional of the group, was curled up in a ball under the table, sobbing. I fought the urge to join him. I felt like it, but I fought it. And that was it. For the rest of the day, I was introduced to the wonderful sport of tag team teacher baiting. They were in, they were out, they were in, they were out. They were mainly in to hurl a bit of abuse at me, see me go red-faced, get all hot and sweaty, then they were out again. They had a cracking day. I, on the other hand, was a physical wreck. My wife came home to find me at the end of the day, lying on the floor in a darkened room, listening to loud blues music, halfway through a bottle of wine. Using a glass, which I think was very restrained given the circumstances. And I was lying there and I was trying to work out where had it all gone wrong. As far as I was concerned, I'd sussed this behaviour lark. It was a doddle. Eventually, it dawned on me. Probably dawned on you a little bit earlier. I'd forgotten the key to behaviour: relationships. Don't get me wrong, the behaviour of those students was wrong. It was unacceptable. But Lee kind of had a point. What he should have said, obviously putting his hand up, was, "Beg your pardon, Mr. Sweet, sorry for interrupting your very interesting monologue, but would you mind telling me a little bit about yourself and your past history so we can get to know each other?" But no, Lee didn't go for that approach. Lee went for the "who the F do you think you are, you effing effer" route, which is not what we want. So I then thought, what are we going to do about this? How am I going to manage this? The next day I was in bright and early. Students start walking into the lesson. The first thing is a slight look of surprise on their face. He's back. They were quite impressed with that. And they sat down and there was this wonderful moment of complete silence. You could have heard a pin drop. They were angels. And there was a simple reason. They were waiting for the rollicking. They were waiting for me to say yesterday was unacceptable, and then that could all kick off again. So I started and I said, we need to talk about yesterday. Lee's fingers at this point are visibly twitching on the table. He's ready. We need to talk about yesterday. I need to start by saying sorry. Now they looked at me at this point and I think there was a slight concern in the room that they might actually have pushed me over the edge the previous day. They looked at me as if I had gone barking mad. "Sorry? Weren't you here yesterday?" No, I said, "No, I need to apologise. I made a mistake yesterday. I didn't take the time to get to know you, and that was wrong. But your behaviour yesterday was unacceptable, and you've got to realise I'm not going to tolerate that. Let's start again. Let's get to know each other." I'm not saying it was all plain sailing, but it was a start. And taking that time to get to know the students, giving a bit, building that relationship, makes the difference.